Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a crucial topic, the investment pros and cons of different types of energy. We'll explore oil, gas, solar, wind, hydro, and nuclear power to help you make informed decisions. Let's get started. First up, oil energy. Oil has been a cornerstone of the global energy supply for decades. But what does it mean for investors? Pros: high demand. Oil remains in high demand globally, primarily for transportation and industrial uses. The demand for oil is projected to continue, especially in developing economies where industrialization and urbanization drive consumption. This consistent demand can translate to steady returns for investors. For instance, countries like China and India are experiencing rapid economic growth, leading to increased energy consumption. The International Energy Agency, IEA, predicts that global oil demand will peak in the mid-2020s, but remain substantial for decades, particularly for petrochemicals, aviation, and heavy transport. This sustained demand offers a buffer against short-term market volatility. Infrastructure. The extensive infrastructure for oil extraction, refining, and distribution is already in place. This includes a global network of pipelines, refineries, and shipping routes that facilitate the efficient movement of oil from production sites to consumers. This infrastructure reduces the initial capital expenditure required for new projects and enhances the reliability of supply chains. For example, the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System, TAPS, and extensive refinery networks in the Gulf Coast illustrate the robust infrastructure supporting the oil industry. Economic influence. Oil companies often have significant political and economic influence, which can provide stability. This influence can lead to favorable regulatory environments and government support, reducing operational risks. Large oil corporations like ExxonMobil and Saudi Aramco have substantial lobbying power and can influence energy policies. Their economic contributions, including taxes and job creation, often lead to strong government backing. Cons: volatility. Oil prices are highly volatile, influenced by geopolitical events, supply disruptions, and market speculation. This volatility can lead to unpredictable returns for investors. Events such as the Gulf War, OPEC decisions, and sanctions on oil-producing countries can cause significant price fluctuations. For example, the 2020 oil price crash due to the COVID-19 pandemic and a price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia highlighted the market's vulnerability to external shocks. Environmental impact. Oil production and consumption contribute significantly to pollution and climate change, leading to regulatory risks. Governments are increasingly implementing policies to curb emissions, which can affect the profitability of oil investments. The extraction and burning of oil produce greenhouse gases, contributing to global warming. Regulations such as carbon taxes, emission caps, and shifts towards renewable energy sources pose risks to the long-term viability of oil investments. The Paris Agreement and national policies targeting net zero emissions by 2050 exemplify this trend. Finite resource. Oil is a finite resource, and as reserves dwindle, extraction becomes more expensive and less efficient. This scarcity can lead to higher production costs and reduced profitability over time. Depleting easy-to-access reserves means companies must explore more challenging environments, like deepwater drilling or Arctic exploration, increasing operational risks and costs. The concept of peak oil suggests that production will eventually decline, impacting supply and investment returns. Next, let's talk about natural gas. It's often seen as a cleaner alternative to oil. But what are the investment considerations? Pros: cleaner than oil. Natural gas produces fewer pollutants and greenhouse gases than oil, making it a more environmentally friendly option. It's considered a key transitional fuel towards a lower carbon future. Natural gas emits about 50–60% less carbon dioxide, CO2, when combusted in a new, efficient natural gas power plant compared to emissions from a typical new coal plant. This reduction is significant for countries aiming to meet climate targets. For example, the US has seen a decline in CO2 emissions partly due to the switch from coal to natural gas in power generation. Abundance. Large reserves of natural gas exist, especially with advancements in extraction technologies like hydraulic fracturing, fracking. This abundance ensures a stable supply and potentially lower prices. The discovery of shale gas reserves in the US has transformed the energy landscape, making the country a leading natural gas producer. The Marcellus Shale and Permian Basin are examples of prolific gas-producing regions. Global reserves are also significant, with countries like Russia, Qatar, and Iran holding substantial quantities. Bridge fuel. Natural gas is considered a bridge fuel, supporting the transition from coal and oil to renewable energy sources. It provides a reliable backup for intermittent renewables like solar and wind. Natural gas-fired power plants can quickly ramp up and down, complementing the variable output of renewable energy sources. This flexibility makes natural gas a crucial component of modern energy systems aiming to integrate higher shares of renewables. Cons: price fluctuations. Like oil, Natural gas prices can be volatile, influenced by supply and demand dynamics, geopolitical issues, and weather patterns. This volatility can affect revenue predictability for investors. The natural gas market is susceptible to seasonal demand shifts, such as increased heating needs in winter and cooling in summer. Geopolitical tensions, such as those involving Russia's gas supply to Europe, also impact prices. The Henry Hub spot price is a benchmark for U.S. natural gas prices, illustrating market fluctuations. Methane emissions. Methane, a potent greenhouse gas, can leak during extraction, transportation, and storage. These emissions can offset some of the environmental benefits of using natural gas over coal and oil. Methane has a global warming potential over 20 times greater than CO2 over a 100-year period. Leaks from fracking sites, pipelines, and storage facilities are significant concerns. Regulatory measures, such as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's EPA methane rules, aim to mitigate these emissions but add to operational costs. Infrastructure costs. Significant investments are needed for infrastructure development, including pipelines, storage facilities, and liquefied natural gas (LNG) terminals. These costs can be substantial and impact profitability. Building and maintaining a natural gas infrastructure requires substantial capital. LNG infrastructure in particular involves high costs due to the need for specialized facilities to liquefy, transport, and regasify natural gas. Projects like the LNG terminals in the Gulf of Mexico and the Nord Stream pipelines in Europe exemplify the scale of investment required. Now let's shine some light on solar energy. Solar power is rapidly growing, but what should investors know? Pros: renewable. Solar energy is abundant and renewable, with the potential to provide a significant portion of the world's energy needs. The sun's energy is practically limitless and available globally. The Earth receives an immense amount of solar energy, far exceeding current global energy consumption. Advances in photovoltaic (PV) technology have increased efficiency and reduced costs, making solar energy a viable option for widespread adoption. Countries like Germany and China are leading in solar capacity, demonstrating the scalability of solar power. Decreasing costs. The cost of solar panels and installation has decreased dramatically, improving return on investment. Technological advancements and economies of scale have driven down costs. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, the cost of solar PV electricity has fallen by around 82% since 2010. The levelized cost of electricity, LCOE, for solar is now competitive with or even lower than traditional fossil fuels in many regions. Innovations in materials and manufacturing processes continue to enhance cost-effectiveness. Government incentives. Many governments offer incentives, subsidies, and tax breaks for solar energy projects. These financial incentives can significantly enhance the profitability of solar investments. Programs such as the Investment Tax Credit, ITC, in the US, feed-in tariffs in Europe, and subsidies in China have spurred rapid growth in solar installations. These incentives reduce upfront costs and provide long-term financial benefits, making solar projects more attractive to investors. Cons. Intermittency. Solar power is intermittent depending on weather conditions and time of day. This variability requires storage solutions or backup power sources to ensure a consistent energy supply. Energy storage technologies like batteries are essential to address intermittency. The cost and efficiency of storage solutions are improving, but they still add to the overall project cost. Grid integration and demand response strategies also play crucial roles in managing solar power's variability. Initial costs. Despite decreasing costs, initial investments for solar installations can be high. The upfront capital required for solar farms or residential installations can be a barrier for some investors. Initial costs include purchasing and installing solar panels, inverters, and other system components. Financing options such as solar leases and power purchase agreements, PPAs, can alleviate some of the financial burdens. Long-term savings on energy bills and potential income from selling excess power back to the grid can offset initial expenditures. Land use. Large-scale solar farms require significant land, which can impact local ecosystems and land availability. The competition for land use can pose challenges, particularly in densely populated or ecologically sensitive areas. Utility-scale solar projects can occupy vast areas, potentially disrupting wildlife habitats and agricultural land. Innovations like floating solar farms and integrating solar panels into existing structures, e.g. at rooftops and parking lots, can mitigate land use concerns. Careful site selection and environmental impact assessments are essential to balance land use and ecological considerations. Let's catch the wind with wind energy. It's another key player in the renewable sector, but what are its investment pros and cons? Pros: renewable and clean. Wind energy is a clean, renewable resource that helps reduce carbon emissions. Wind turbines convert kinetic energy from the wind into electricity, without producing harmful pollutants. The use of wind power has grown significantly, with global installed capacity reaching new heights each year. According to the Global Wind Energy Council, GWEC, wind power installations are set to continue rising, driven by increasing environmental awareness and supportive policies. Scalable. Wind farms can be built on various scales, from small installations to large offshore projects. This scalability makes wind energy suitable for different applications and locations. Onshore wind farms are common and cost-effective, while offshore wind farms benefit from stronger and more consistent wind patterns. Offshore wind projects like those in the North Sea have higher initial costs but offer substantial energy yields. The development of floating wind turbines expands the potential for offshore wind in deeper waters. Technological advancements. Continuous improvements in turbine technology are increasing efficiency and reducing costs. Larger turbines with longer blades capture more wind energy, enhancing overall performance. Modern wind turbines are more efficient, reliable, and cost-effective than their predecessors. Technological advancements such as direct drive generators and smart grid integration optimize energy production and grid stability. Research into materials and aerodynamics continues to push the boundaries of turbine design. Cons. Intermittency. Like solar, wind energy is intermittent and depends on wind availability. This variability necessitates storage or backup power solutions to ensure a consistent energy supply. Wind energy's intermittency can be managed through a combination of energy storage, grid interconnections, and complementary energy sources. For example, combining wind and solar power can balance seasonal and diurnal variations. Advances in battery technology and other storage solutions, such as pumped hydro storage, are crucial to mitigating intermittency challenges. Impact on wildlife. Wind turbines can affect local wildlife, particularly birds and bats. The risk of collisions and habitat disruption is a concern that requires careful planning and mitigation measures. Environmental impact assessments and strategic siting are essential to minimize wildlife impacts. Technologies like radar-based detection systems and turbine curtailment during high-risk periods can reduce bird and bat mortality. Ongoing research aims to develop more wildlife-friendly turbine designs and operational practices. Aesthetic concerns. Some communities oppose wind farms due to their visual impact on landscapes. The presence of large turbines can be perceived as unsightly and disruptive to the natural environment. Community engagement and public consultation are vital to addressing aesthetic concerns. Visual simulations and careful site selection can help mitigate visual impacts. Offshore wind farms located away from shorelines offer a solution to minimize visual intrusion while harnessing strong wind resources. Next up is hydro energy. Hydroelectric power has been around for a long time. But what should investors consider? Pros. Renewable and reliable. Hydro energy is a reliable and renewable resource, providing consistent power output. Hydropower plants can operate continuously, delivering a stable energy supply. Hydropower accounts for a significant portion of global renewable energy capacity. Countries with abundant water resources, like Norway and Brazil, rely heavily on hydropower for their electricity needs. The reliability of hydropower makes it a cornerstone of many national energy strategies. Low operating costs. Once established, hydroelectric plants have low operating and maintenance costs. The long lifespan of hydro facilities contributes to their cost-effectiveness. Hydropower plants can operate for decades with minimal maintenance compared to other energy sources. The Hoover Dam, for instance, has been generating electricity since 1936. The initial investment is high, but the operational longevity and low running costs make hydropower economically attractive over the long term. Energy storage. Hydroelectric dams can store large amounts of water, acting as a natural battery. This storage capability allows for flexible and responsive energy generation. Pumped storage hydropower, PSH, is a widely used method of energy storage. It involves pumping water to a higher elevation during periods of low demand and releasing it to generate electricity during peak demand. This ability to balance supply and demand enhances grid stability and supports the integration of variable renewable energy sources. Cons. Environmental impact. Dams can significantly alter local ecosystems, affecting fish populations and water quality. The construction and operation of hydro facilities can disrupt natural habitats and biodiversity. The environmental impact of hydropower projects is a major concern. Dams can block fish migration routes, alter river flow patterns, and change water temperatures. Mitigation measures, such as fish ladders and environmental flow releases, aim to reduce these impacts but are not always fully effective. The Three Gorges Dam in China is an example of a project with significant environmental and social implications. High initial costs. Building hydroelectric dams requires substantial capital investment and long development timelines. These high initial costs can be a barrier to new projects. The construction of large dams involves complex engineering, extensive planning, and significant financial resources. Projects like the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD, illustrate the scale and complexity of modern hydropower developments. Securing financing and managing long-term construction risks are critical challenges for investors. Geographic limitations. Suitable sites for hydroelectric projects are limited, often in remote or ecologically sensitive areas. The geographic and environmental constraints can restrict the potential for new hydro developments. Identifying suitable locations for new hydro projects requires careful consideration of environmental, social, and technical factors. Many prime locations are already developed, and remaining sites may pose greater challenges. The environmental and social impact assessments are crucial to ensure sustainable and responsible hydropower development. Lastly, let's delve into nuclear energy. It's a highly debated topic, so what are the pros and cons for investors? Pros: high energy density. Nuclear energy has a high energy density, producing large amounts of power from small amounts of fuel. This efficiency makes it a powerful and reliable energy source. 1 kilogram of uranium-235 can produce as much energy as 1.5 million kilograms of coal. This high energy density reduces the fuel transportation and storage requirements, enhancing the overall efficiency of nuclear power. The capacity factor of nuclear plants, often exceeding 90%, highlights their ability to generate continuous and reliable power. Low greenhouse gas emissions. Nuclear power generates minimal greenhouse gases, making it a low-carbon energy source. This attribute is crucial for combating climate change and meeting emissions reduction targets. The life cycle greenhouse gas emissions of nuclear power are comparable to those of wind and hydropower, significantly lower than fossil fuels. As countries strive to reduce carbon footprints, nuclear energy presents a viable option for large-scale, low-carbon electricity generation. France, for example, relies heavily on nuclear power, contributing to its low carbon emissions per capita. Stable output. Nuclear plants provide a stable and continuous power supply, independent of weather conditions. This stability supports grid reliability and complements intermittent renewable energy sources. Nuclear power's ability to deliver baseload electricity is a key advantage. Unlike solar and wind, which depend on weather conditions, nuclear reactors operate consistently, ensuring a steady supply of electricity. This reliability makes nuclear power a critical component of a balanced energy mix, particularly in regions with high energy demands and limited renewable resources. Cons: safety concerns. Accidents, although rare, can have catastrophic consequences, leading to high safety and regulatory costs. Incidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima have heightened public concern about nuclear safety. The safety of nuclear power is a paramount concern for both the industry and the public. The aftermath of nuclear accidents has led to stricter safety regulations, increased oversight, and higher operational costs. Modern reactor designs, such as Generation 3+ and Generation 4 reactors, incorporate advanced safety features to mitigate risks. But public perception and regulatory challenges remain significant hurdles. Nuclear waste. Disposal of radioactive waste remains a significant challenge, with long-term storage solutions required. The management of nuclear waste is costly and contentious. Nuclear waste includes spent fuel and other radioactive materials that require secure and long-term storage. Deep geological repositories, like the proposed Yucca Mountain site in the US, are designed to isolate waste from the environment for thousands of years. The high costs, technical challenges, and public opposition associated with waste disposal complicate the nuclear industry's future prospects. High capital costs. Building and decommissioning nuclear plants involve a substantial capital investment and regulatory hurdles. These high costs can deter new projects and impact profitability. The construction of nuclear power plants is capital-intensive, with lengthy approval processes and significant financial risks. The Vogtle Electric Generating Plant in the US and Hinkley Point C in the UK exemplify the challenges of cost overruns and delays. Decommissioning old reactors and managing nuclear waste add to the financial burden, affecting the overall investment attractiveness of nuclear energy. There you have it, a deep dive into the investment pros and cons of different energy types. Each energy source has its unique benefits and challenges, so it's crucial to consider these factors when making investment decisions. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insights on investing and energy trends. Thanks for watching!